Hi students, first of all I introduce myself. I am Kochery, Assistant Professor, Department of BA Triple Main, Devamada College, Kurovalangat, which is affiliated to MG University, Kochery. Now we plan to discuss or conduct class based on the second semester BA Triple Main journalism paper, editing and fundamentals of media writing. I arranged this material which is useful for the MC&JR and MJC students of different universities of Kerala and outside Kerala. The paper editing and reporting process, which can be considered as the basic function, basic activity of the journalism field itself. Someone has to collect the information which is considered as a reporting process, and someone has to edit in the form of news. Both this process, especially in the field of print media, we consider here. As all of us know, the editing paper consists of 3 modules. Now we discuss about the third module, which is related with the editing or the writing of the news. And I plan to divide this module into 5 parts, depending on the nature. And around a duration of 20 to 24 minutes class, I plan to arrange. Today we plan to discuss about the news values or the elements of news, the rudiments of the news story, the term deadline, the story structure, writing news stories, types of different news stories, the lead. First we should consider what is news. Then only we have to think about the values or the characteristics or the qualities of the news. If we want to diagnose a patient, some symptoms should be there. Based on these symptoms, the medical practitioner reaches a decision. These symptoms are due to a particular disease. In the field of journalism also, the same process we have to conduct. Whenever we get a new information or whenever we get an information, that you have to identify whether that is a news or not. If that is a news, then only you have to consider that. And here we apply some values or some qualities to that information. All informations cannot be considered as the news. Why? Most probably the students or the people, those who are eager to learn or eager to know, will ask, as you are seeing, news is anything new. By critical examination or by a keen observation, we cannot satisfy the term or the phrase what we call news is anything new, because all the new informations cannot be considered as the news. Every day people reach to come home, starts from home, students reach to college or schools. There is no information, no thing is happening, but that we consider as the news. Why? It should not possess some special qualities or values. This is why that is not considered. In a journalism class, basically all of the people may have heard about the definition of the news by John Bibohart. John Bibohart, the city news editor of New York Times, has given a funny definition to news. All the people, those who are teaching the journalism, will definitely repeat this. Sometimes some people may explain these things now itself. If a dog bites a man, that is not news. But if a man bites a dog, that is news. Why? Some difference there we can see. Which are the basic differences that we have to identify? The same thing can be taken as the news values, or the elements of the news, or the qualities of the news, or the same can be considered as the characteristics of the news. The first and the most one by one we have to consider. The first and the most important we consider as the news value is proximity. Proximity means nearness. If an incident or event or occurrence which is near to us, we are interested to learn about more about, we want to get more, plan to get more information regarding that. Proximity does not mean the geographical distance. The time there we have to consider. The kinship or the blood relationship there we have to consider. More intimate to us can be taken as one of the important news value. Proximity, the location, where it happens, the incident which happens far away from us or incident which is near to us, people automatically prefer or provide preference to the incidents which is near to us. Proximity means simply the nearness, one of the important news value or the news quality that you have to consider. Then the timeliness or currency, new informations. Second point there you have to remember is timeliness, the recent informations, the development of an issue. Only the new informations we consider as a news. The old informations cannot be considered as the news. In backgrounding that is possible, but when we consider the basic elements of the news, the first one we have seen the proximity or the nearness, second one the timeliness or the currency. Current events are news items that you have seen. Then the prominence. Next point is prominence. People are interested to get or collect information which is related to the people of the highest positions than that of the ordinary people. A priority setting is going on there. A prominence should take place there. A well-known person or a place or event has to strong news angle than something that the audience is not familiar to us. Even the silly things of the prominent people gets good media coverage than that of the serious events of the ordinary people. This is also one of the important things that you have to consider. Then the consequences. What will happen? The fall of the Berlin Wall, the parliament elections, the changes in the tax, presidential election result, make some consequences in the society and even in some state. The coronavirus is an example. The after effects, the consequences. Consequences is also one of the important news value or the news quality that you have to consider. Then conflict. Conflict in the mind. Conflict among two nations. Conflict among two society. Then human interest. People are interested to get information which is interested to them. The news basically they will concentrate on information. The feature stories they will concentrate on interesting facts. Human interest is considered as one of the important element of the news story. Human interest is one of the important thing. Then extremes or superlatives. Extremes or superlatives also can be taken as one of the important thing. Then scandals also some of the people will consider as the news value. Then impact of a outbreak of Ebola. The Ebola virus there we are seeing, that can be taken. The corona can be taken. Just to summarize, make sure it is not easy to specify the news values in a number or a figure, and by key observations we can identify more and more, and then minimum 10 values or characteristics you should remember. The timeliness, the proximity, the prominence, the consequences, the human interest, the rarity are some among them. Whenever you answer, don't write the figure, because by detailed examinations, more and more values there we can identify the conflict and the like. Okay, I summarize it: timeliness, proximity, prominence, human interest, rarity, then impact, then the extremeness, then the scandal and the like. Okay, then let us start with the next topic. Then let us discuss about the rudiments of news story. It is easy to understand because you have already seen the basic elements, the news values or the characteristics of the news. The rudiments begins with accuracy. Accurate information should be given whenever we prepare a news. Otherwise, the people will face some crucial situations. Whenever we provide wrong information, the people will misunderstand that information is correct or accurate. So, it is essential we should provide accurate information, or in other words, accuracy can be considered as one of the important rudiment of the story. Whenever we write or prepare the designations, the names, the places, we should make sure, especially in case of the figures, the numbers, initials, we should provide more importance or priority of the value accuracy. Accurate information is essential in the field of journalism. Then next we should consider the background. Backgrounding is a term associated with the field of journalism. In interpretative journalism, basically the reporter should dig out the informations. In the basic types there, all of the people may be familiar. The interpretative journalism, the in-depth journalism, investigative journalism. Interpretative journalism, basically they are interpret, but in in-depth journalism, along with the interpreting the informations, we digging out the reasons. In interpretative, basically provide what happened, but in in-depth journalism, it is essential to have the reasons behind that particular incident or the occurrences. Why that happened? Then backgrounding information is essential there. Whenever we report an incident, the backgrounding information is essential there. And basically the term, the follow-up, is very common in the field of journalism. Follow-up means adding new information to an event or a news which we already reported. The development of the story, then it is essential. Whenever we report on a trial or a judgment, it is essential to have the details of the story which have already occurred in the past years, sometimes, or past months, or past days, or arrest. There we should specify the reasons, the events very clearly. Backgrounding information is essential there. The first you have seen, accurate information is essential. Then the backgrounding information is also important. Then another point, another rudiment is attribution of statement. Attribution. Basically, the field of journalism should be capable to convince its viewers or listeners or the readers. In print media, we have to convince our readers. In visual media, we have to convince our viewers. In audio media, radio has to convince them. Then how can you convince? Whenever we report a murder or whenever we report a serious accident, it is not possible to be there before the accident or the murder or the crime. Then we should collect the information from some sources, either maybe from the part of the officials or from the part of the eyewitness or even from the victim or injured. We will collect the information. Especially, for example, whenever we report a murder, we will collect information from the police. There will specify or begin the story with the police said. And fire officials also we will make use to report the events. That is attribution of the statements. Otherwise, the people will not convince. Then how we collect the information? They will automatically ask the questions inside them itself. But whenever the concerned officials or the people with authority express their attitude regarding that particular incident, automatically it is very easy to convince them. Then attribution is also very important. Then another term you have to remember in connection with the rudiments of the news story is balance and fairness. Balance and fairness. Whenever we report a controversial issue, we should give the balanced information that both parties should be treated in the proper and equal approach. Even though we may have some interest to a particular party, it should not be taken or it should not be influenced in the news reporting or the editing process. All the media organizations may have their own policies. Their attitudes, they can express through their editorials. Because the editorials are known as the views on news. They can express their attitudes, they can condemn, they can blame, they can promote, they can encourage, they can salute, anything they have to do, but only to do their editorials. But in news items, it should be impartial. Impartial information is essential there. Balance and fairness is considered as one of the important elements of the rudiment of the story. The next one is brevity. Brief information is essential. As all of us know, the people are busy with their own dealings, their own day-to-day life. Lot of opportunities they have to get informations. But whenever we give the concise information, then only the people will receive it. Some of the people are known as the scanners of the channels. Just one by one, using the remote, they changes, surfing the channels. Then just they turn over the pages of the newspaper or the magazines. If you want to catch them, the brief information should be given there. Brevity is one of the important thing there we have to remember. Then next point is relevance. Relevant information is only considered in the field of journalism. Otherwise, the people will neglect our product. If we are providing the same information in the repeated way, nothing they will consider. The relevant information, people have some expectations. What will be the next day? Automatically that should be considered. Then, in the field of communication, there we have seen the clarity. The 7 C's of communication we are familiar with. As journalism students, we are familiar with the 7 C's of communication. One among them is clarity. Clear-cut information is essential there. Vague information the people will not prefer. Then automatically ambiguous information or the unbiased information they will not consider. 1 or 2 days we can exploit them. But the next day automatically they will check out another media. In the field of journalism, lot of opportunities that people may have. It is not compulsory to subscribe this. Then automatically we should make sure that clarity is one of the important rudiment of the news story. Then, as you have seen in case of the news values, human interest is another one. Human interest. People are interested to get interesting matters. The uncommon things. All of the people are ready to enjoy through the information. The edutainment. Then, in technology is now mixing with the entertainment. Edutainment, education through the entertainment activities. Even in science cities, science parks, there you have to see it. People are interested, human interest in information. Then identification is essential there. The name, age, address, the occupation, every information should be very clearly given there. Identifications, accurate information there, you can connect with this identification also. Identification is essential there. Then news point. The last point you have to remember in connection with the attribution of the news story is news point. You should possess some news sense and news value. You should consider, then only the people will consider. That is the important thing. 10 points we have discussed in connection with the rudiments of the news story. In addition to these points, you also have to consider the objectivity and verification as the rudiments of the news story. Objectivity and subjectivity is familiar, especially in the field of literature also. It should be objective. The subjective or biased information should not be considered in the field of journalism. Then verification is also considered one of the important attribute of the information. When a reporter checks his or her information against some kind of objective source, we say that the materials has been verified. This is also important. Then totally 12 points we discussed in connection with attribution. Then next you have to think about the term deadline. Humorously, it is very common in the field of journalism. Some lines are there. For example, date line, place line, byline, credit line, deadline. The byline is familiar to us. The name of the reporter given along with the news story is known as the byline. The date line, usually we use as now the place line only. The place from where the story reports. The credit line, instead of specifying the name of the reporter, the media organization announces that the news is reported by their own reporters, staff reporters. They have their own reporters there to report it. To announce the credit of the organization, the credit lines they use. The deadline, not only in the field of journalism, the deadline is very important. Deadline means the last moment to complete an assignment or a task. The last moment to complete a task. It is very preferable. It is very important thing in the field of journalism. The punctuality is considered as one of the important quality of the reporters. Not only the reporter, every people have to possess this quality, but in the field of journalism, it is very essential. Whenever a reporter fails to report in the proper time, or whenever he fails to face his deadline, automatically that story will be missed forever. Nothing we can do. After the completion of the printing process, even though we are getting a serious story, or if you fail to submit the story, a reporter failed to submit the story, nothing they have to do. Online media can manage it, but their competitors will automatically break the story. The value will be changed. Exclusive stories. Nowadays, all the media fighting for exclusive stories, the breaking news items, deadline, the last moment. Don't wait for the deadline. Before the deadline, it is advisable to complete our task. Whenever a subeditor fails to meet the deadline, what will happen? The CTP process will negatively impact. That will negatively influence the printing process, the distribution process. Advertisers will make some problems. In broadcasting media also the same thing will happen. Whenever we are failed to provide an information in the proper time, that bulletin cannot include that story. Thus, in simple words, deadline means the last moment to complete a task. In the field of journalism, that may be related with the editing or reporting process. Then the next topic is news writing. Why we specify a particular format for the news writing? Definitely we can specify that it is different from the essay writing. It is different from poem writing. It is different from any kind of other writing. The journalism possesses its own style. This is the basic reason journalism is considered as a profession. Journalism is a profession. It should possess some ethics. It should possess some style. It automatically the people, those who belongs to the field of journalism, has to follow this style. The house style is a term associated with the journalism writing. All the media organizations have their own style in the presentation process. It may be vary from one to another. The style book all the media organizations have. The style book is a guideline book for the reporters and editors. How you have to make use of a term. How you have to present a particular designation. What kind of titles you have to allow to provide. The style book provides some information. And as a basic concern or the fundamentals of media writing, there we are seeing three terms: lead, body and conclusion. The beginning portion of the news story is known as the lead or intro. The beginning portion. How we should write an intro. How we should prepare a lead. Then the lead develops to development of the body. Development or the body. Then that concludes. Most of the times the story just concludes. Not deliberately we prepare a conclusion. The format which follows in news writing is preferred, basically known as inverted pyramid format. Inverted pyramid format. The pyramid is familiar to us. Inverted pyramid format. Basically, in the inverted pyramid format, we prefer the most important point in the first and the least important point in the last. It is very essential or it is very helpful for the editing process or the editors. Even though by cutting the last portion of the story, nothing will happen to the existence of the story. The inverted pyramid format is very preferable format in the news writing. Other formats are also possible there. The pyramid format, for boxes, then the Christmas tree, suspense interest format, the feature writing process, some other type of formats we use that we will discuss in connection with the feature writing. And now today we discussed about the basic elements of the news story or the news values, then the rudiments of the news story, then the story structure, then the time deadline, so we specified. Okay, thank you. In next sessions, we plan to consider the remaining portions of the third module. Okay, thank you. If you have any doubt, you can ask. It is free to ask the questions. You can raise the questions level that can improve the level of your knowledge. At the same time, my knowledge also I can improve by referring most books and other facilities also I have to also refer. And my email ID is given along with this video, and that also you have to make use. And this YouTube channel also provides opportunity to comment on this video. That also you have to make use. And most of the comments I will try to answer. Okay, thank you.